WDRD. We are live in color.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Allison.
Yo, what's up? It's Anthony.
This is Dylan Carnes.
Hi, I'm Ashley.
And we are live in color, and today we're going to bring you a couple of topics that have been going on in the media today. The first one is the Oscar snub. You guys have probably seen a lot of it on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. There's been a boycott with like the diversity as far as the Oscars and BET Awards. A lot of stars have had stuff to say about this. What do you guys think of this as a whole? Like, how is this changing the way people view our award shows?
We still live in that era where, you know, the minute something bad happens, or something we don't agree with, we have like a lot more power to say and speak up on it. So I think what really brought attention to it was Jada Pinkett Smith making a video talking about how she was offended and how she was going to boycott the awards. And then when people turned around and looked, they were like, oh, she kind of right. So when she got up and said her piece, I think a lot of people started actually looking and paying attention to it. So she brought attention to it, but I think she's getting backlash because people think that she had more selfish intentions behind it as opposed to like caring about the people.
Right.
Because, you know, they don't speak up on any of the other social issues, anything important, but award shows were the first thing that they decided to become vocal about.
Okay.
Well, I think, like, at the end of the day, like, we only gonna talk about stuff that affects us. You know, her career is just acting, you know, as far as, so she wants to be the best at what she doing in her field. Just as if
Right.
an athlete felt like he deserved or she deserved the MVP award and they didn't get it because of some type of issue. Like, they're not gonna really, at the end, you're not gonna really speak on stuff that you feel like don't affect you. You know, at the end of the day, like, some don't, most people, not everybody's gonna try to fight for poverty because they weren't affected by it. So it's kind of hard for us to try to expect, like, that's what we want to do. We want, like, LeBron James and them to speak out on this stuff, but it doesn't affect them. So at the end of the day, I think, like, we shouldn't make it their responsibility. They don't want to do it. They want to do it, that's great. That makes them even a better person. But not everybody can be a Muhammad Ali and speak out on stuff that has nothing to do with their field. So, like, I understand, like, she probably speaking, but that's her husband, you know what I'm saying? Like, why would she not speak? That's her man. She's defending her man. So if anything, you got the negative, but you have the positive. She's defending her man at least. So we can't really argue against that.
Well, I only watch the Oscars every so often, so I don't really like see who's nominated or anything like that. Right. But when I saw that she had made a post about it beforehand, I was just like, oh, well, she does have a point. And to me, it makes me feel like she is speaking up against that, about it not being as many black actors, black movies nominated for the awards. Because it's like, it's something that, well, for me personally, I feel like it's something that you expect when you watch an award show. Like, you expect a lot of like diversity, and even with the Oscars, there's been diversity before, so it's like, why all of a sudden there's nothing there? So it's like, I feel like she did a good thing for speaking out against it, and I don't see like why it's become like a negative thing to so many people.
Okay, well, online reports were talking about the Stacey Dash, how she has something to say about what Jada Pinkett Smith had to say, and I don't. How do you guys agree with what Stacey Dash had to say?
One thing I say is that I think for as black people, we still have yet to find a good way to try to strategize stuff that affects us. As far as when we've heard about the Oscar snub, I think we can all agree that we were kind of upset by it.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And let's say if Jada never spoke out, then we would have probably complained saying, why don't these celebrities use their power and try to do something about it? And as soon as she does it, now we're saying, why are you worried about the Oscars? I feel like it's still like we still lack a way of trying to strategize as far as trying to attack these type of issues. Cause like,
right.
I mean, I'm kind of like both sides, so I can't really argue for each side. But it's like, if she didn't say nothing, I'm sure people would have been saying, why don't these celebrities finally step up and speak and get like,
yeah,
right. I mean, the way that no, I got it. The way award shows have been going, like, we've been as a people constantly feeling like we haven't been awarded the right way from award shows in general. Like, even with the Grammys, that I know a little bit more about. Like, when Macklemore won Album of the Year, or like when Kanye West said something to the effect of, I'm only nominated in black categories. I could win white categories too. Or even when you have things like Beyonce wins Woman of the Year, but she's not Artist of the Year, and Kanye West steps up. It's like, okay, we'll talk about it because we know it's wrong, but we always want to like self-shame the person that actually says something. So to a degree, I think that people are self-shaming Jada, and she did it for selfish reasons, but she still got up and said something about it, which was always helpful.
Sometimes you like look past selfish. Like sometimes stop picking apart the little bad stuff. Look at the bigger picture. At least she drew people like Spike Lee to stand up, and he could draw more people. So it's like, stop looking so worried about her being selfish. At the end of the day, would you have anybody that did the same thing? If my wife, I feel like she got snubbed or something, I feel like she supposed to get a position at her job and she did it, I'm gonna speak up.
Yep.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to do. I mean,
yeah,
it's a relationship.
A real relationship goes, if anything.
Right. Like when I saw the different posts on my social media about what Stacey Nash, whatever her name is, has said. Like my first thought was, what did she say this time? I didn't even think to like look and see what she said because I felt like it was probably something.
Well, Stacey and Jada are coming from two different angles. Like,
right.
Jada's talking about, we want nominations. We ain't got nominations. There's no real reason for us to be there, which makes sense. Hit them in the pockets the same way Mizzou did. But Stacey on some other stuff, she started attacking our stuff. She was like, we shouldn't segregate. It is a whole different topic, and she's self-segregating.
And all that. But I'm like, but hold up. Let's not act like we don't have MTV and VH1.
Right.
It's not like we have that. They have black people working for them. Most likely, black people that were the face of VH1 prior reality shows, and we know the negative feedback we get from that. So let's not act like she didn't mention them, but she mentioned BET.
She was talking about BET and Black History Month. I ain't got.
Like that was two totally different things that she brought into one to try to make a point, and it's like, why are you putting these two together? They're different. Like we have the BET Awards, we have all of these different things for a reason because of things like that, like where the Oscars don't like give the same effect as BET does.
Almost an attention.
Yeah, she came at the BET Awards
and Black History
stuff
Month,
like that, which is
I feel
ridiculous.
Like, Whoopi Goldberg, she made a good point on The View when she was basically going beyond the Oscar as far as looking at movie diversity in general. It's like we said there's like diversity, but you have a lot of these low budget films that that have some of these stars. Most of the movies that you see on BET low budget, but they're all black cast.
Right.
So like people are trying to do diversity, but they just can't. And then she said, as far as let's not boycott Oscar, but let's boycott the movies that don't really represent America in its true form. As far as a movie that has all white actors and they know it should be some black people in there, or even with the Egyptian movies now coming out, and they still using white characters.
That I don't agree with.
Yep. Like we know for a fact it's factual. We bring all the documents like they're not that colored.
Right.
So why don't we boycott them films?
Right. Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, so another star who had something to say was Janet Hubert, also known as Aunt Viv from
You gonna go by
Fresh Prince
Aunt
of
Viv
Bel-Air.
Project?
Probably gonna call her Aunt Viv.
Aunt Viv for the viewers. But so I'm looking at the Los Angeles Times, and she just basically has a lot of interesting things to say. She talks about how she's a real freedom fighter. She's not gonna pretend to freedom fight for different sides. Like she's basically making her points. How you guys feel?
I think that while she was speaking out, she was again doing a little bit of self-hate because she was kind of going against Jada, and she kind of brought some things into it to where it's like, are you focused on the Oscars? Are you focused on Will Smith right now? Right. And some people are opportunists like that. Like she just was like, give me a shot to snap at Will. I'm a little bit ticked. And she might have some beef with Will because Hollywood's a shady business. But it might not have been the appropriate time because it distracts from the issue at hand. And I think that's where I kind of disagree with her because, like, she was talking about Jada, this being the only time she spoke up. This is the only time I heard Aunt Viv speak up. So it's like, y'all are both one for one.
It's true.
So it's not like you're coming out of the...
It's like she thought that she could say, I have the credibility to speak up for what you're doing, but, like, nobody knows what you've been doing either. So it's like you can't assume that Jada's not doing nothing because I guess you assume the audience going to assume that you've been doing something just because sometimes a lot of celebrities who stay out the limelight, sometimes we kind of assume that they're always the ones who probably do the most good because we always assume that the ones who come to the top are probably the most shady ones. But it's not always like that. Like I'm sorry, Van, we don't know what you've been doing as well, so you can't just assume that she's fighting for wrong. At least she's fighting for something. We ain't hear you do nothing, you know.
Right. And when I watched the video, I was just like, it didn't come across as her like talking about the Oscars or anything like that. It felt like a personal attack to Jada, and I was just like, well, you're using your platform, your voice for something totally different instead of like talking about something good. Like, you're attacking her, and she's doing probably a lot more than you've put out there. So
Like
Say
we don't
all
know.
that.
We got to do that research for ourselves.
Yeah.
And like she even commented saying, "You ain't Barack and Michelle Obama, and y'all need to get over yourselves. You have a huge production company that you only produce your friends and family and yourself." But I mean, what I thought that's what we used to get mad at, that we didn't support each other.
Right.
Well, I think, to go back to the topic at hand, I think it's really upsetting in first place that if we're talking about Oscars, we're talking about movies, there were a lot of black films and a lot of black actors that probably did feel snubbed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we had Creed, Straight Outta Compton, or the two biggest ones I could think of. Those deserve an award as something.
Yeah.
Those were two very well made movies. And what you were saying about, BET doing the all black movies, I think that's not really diversity, because that's made for us. When we want diversity and inclusion, we want to be like included in the other shows.
Right.
Like LL Cool J is the head of NCIS, which is a big, more predominantly white franchise, and I don't think he gets a lot of shine for that, but he's a main character, main star, and he's not like, I guess because he's not thug enough that a lot of black people may not be attracted to it, so that's like a double-sided sword. But he's doing his thing on CBS, but we want more roles like that, something where it's like, okay, you got a white cast, black cast, just an American cast should be like white and black and Mexican.
True.
Melting
Yeah,
pot.
yeah.
right.
I think like damn, got a brain for it. I kind of see where Stacey Abrams was going when she says, "Are we going to integrate or segregate?" But
Yeah, I had agreed with her at first, and then it just started getting more like,
because it's her, it's kind of hard for you.
She got
Yeah.
that
If
Raven
it's somebody
Simone
else,
syndrome.
like respectable. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, you want to tune
or
in.
the way they would have said
Right.
it. Maybe
'Cause
she
it's
would have
like-
said it better.
it's
or a different
like-
way.
I understand you're saying we're segregate, integrate. If we're going to integrate, then I feel like yes, we should fight this, because I mean, it is kind of weird that for the second year in a row, no black people got nominated. I mean, why should we just sit back and watch the Oscars and ignore that? I mean, if we're going to integrate, if we want to be a part of American culture, if we want to be part of the Oscars, if we want to be in Hollywood and try to be the best actors or actresses in the country, then
We
maybe
have
we
to
should
integrate
fight
with
for
them,
it,
yeah.
because we need to fight for our acknowledgement. And we feel like, cause just like with Creed, Sylvester Stallone got nominated.
Right.
The supporting actor got nominated over the main one. I don't know how the Oscars work,
What?
but normally, if a
I noticed that too.
normally a supporting cast is nominated. Normally both of them are. I ain't never heard where it's just a supporting one nominated and not the main star. That's what I'm saying. I feel
Well,
like we should
because
be
people
bothered by
lent. I mean, but I felt that since they started talking about Creed, they were leaning towards Rocky. Like the movie was about Adonis, but
Yeah.
people wanted to talk more about Rocky because like he draws his audience.
that. Yeah. I mean, they
So-
want to, but I feel like Creed I think Michael B. Jordan did a good job of letting the audience be drawn to him. I don't think
Right.
people
Right.
really. I
And
mean, I
he's
think
a well-known actor as well, so
yeah,
it's
they,
not even
they
like
probably went in because of Sylvester Stallone, but I feel like they left saying, "Dang, Michael B. Jordan was like he." I
Right.
feel like he stole the show.
Exactly. But the Oscars wouldn't nominate that. And like to a degree, I'm gonna be honest, I've never really watched the Oscars anyway. But as a black person, as an African American, I have no reason now to watch the Oscars because there's nothing there for me, you know? And I feel like they should be conscious of that too. Like there must be other people like me that like as I'm growing up, like I'm gonna see more and more of my peers and people I know possibly that should be awarded in these shows that would make me want to watch it, that now I wouldn't watch it, and you'll lose numbers like that, just being
My thing
uninclusive.
is we are stuck from trying to segregate ourselves, integrate. If we want to segregate, let's make our own. Let's make our own Oscars. Then what's wrong with that? Whoever's going to hate is the ones who just mad because we're going to try to compete with them. Those are the ones
Right.
going to hate. So I mean, if we go on the music side, we had the Source Awards. I'm kind of mad that I didn't grow up being able to watch Source Awards because I realized how big it was and how many rappers really were nominated in
Yep.
that, and we don't have that no
Right.
more. And I feel like man, we still had that. We want to care about Macklemore winning the Grammy because we like, what Source Awards? I bet you he ain't gonna win
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. And I feel like
True.
if we want to integrate, then we should fight for it. But if y'all want to because segregate ain't gotta really mean that we're just racist or we're just competing. That's all. Because this this country is all about competing.
Right.
It's a competition. Yeah.
And even BET does that because I noticed that like last couple years. Sam Smith even won a BET award
Oh,
at the
yeah.
main show
Yeah, I remember.
for being the
I
best
think
singer
Black
because he
folks
was
is
the
okay
best
with that.
singer.
Yeah, but he was good.
But he was
Yeah,
the
I
best
think he was
singer.
all okay with
And
that.
BET
You know,
gave
Right,
him
we were
the
okay with that.
acknowledgement.
I wish the black person will help Sam Smith because he was too.
I wish you had a better voice than Sam
I
right
wish-
now.
Man, we were like, he got snubbed at the BET award because he was that good.
But yeah, he got his acknowledgement, the BET Awards. So on our break, we were discussing a little bit more about the integration and segregation, how we felt, our views towards it. We had a lot to say. You guys want to recap kind of what we talked about?
And we're not meaning segregation where it's back to, the Jim Crow laws and all that, but just as far as just what we do in this country, as far as entertainment, sports, businesses, and all that, it's like, this is a capitalist country, so it's like, instead of trying to integrate with basically majority white establishments, let's just segregate and just compete with them, since we feel like we're not having the right treatment, right diversity. So some people think we should integrate, some think we should segregate. So we were just discussing our opinions on that.
And I feel like, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt you,
go
but
ahead.
like,
Keep going.
with the integration, like, I feel like it's kind of, you weigh yourself out on both sides. It's like, do we want to integrate? Like, is that what we want? But then when we get that, it's like, we're still segregating ourselves. And just like the point that you guys made over the break when we were talking about, we go to a predominantly white school, yet we are surrounding ourselves with African-American people, just like us. We're not necessarily segregating with all the other students here. And it's just like, why do we do that? Yet we stand for, you know what I'm saying?
Integration.
It's just like with, as far as college, PWIs and HBCUs.
Right.
Yeah, those 10 PWIs, their reason is, I'm just here for education. But I think people at HBCUs, not a lot of people, I'm saying people at HBCUs, they feel like, well, it's more just education at the end of the day, though. It's like, why can't we establish ourselves just like they are? Because as of now, HBCUs are losing money, and they're, more excluded or closing because we're just here for the education. But what about the respect for those who fought for the HBCUs and who made these because they couldn't get into these PWIs?
Well, see, I've been to both, and that's a whole different conversation right there. I could state my reasons for leaving an HBCU and coming to a PWI, but I think...
But like stated,
some of the reasons I left my school was because I didn't like the way we were running things when we were on our own, doing our own thing. Like, when I was at a HBCU, I didn't have the options to be on a radio show. I didn't have the options to eat at 14 different places. I didn't have the options of going out on the weekends, really, like all that, because there was nothing to do. It was in the middle of nowhere. And yet when I came to Ball State, I felt like I had more options. I'm more involved on campus. They have more student organizations, student-run groups. And it works well when you have the ability to do things outside of just your race. And I think that as an African-American, I can see that. But yet, as white people, they may not see it the same way in terms of, like what different things can bring to the table to make it better. Because I could go next door and make their radio show better just for being black and bringing my perspective. They may not see that. We could have a white dude on this show or any other race person on this show, and they can make the show better, and we may not see it so far yet. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's something when it comes to common agreement, because it's like, I don't think whites, as far as white people benefit from white privilege, they don't have to have this type of topic, should we integrate, segregate. They don't care about going to HBCUs because they already established. So it's like, we're kind of just stuck on making a common decision because you have, I think that's why we always button heads, because you have the blacks who want to segregate, basically pro-black and all that, support your own. Then you have those who want to integrate. We call them coons and all that. So then while they're butting heads, you may do have the white people look at them like, look at them, silly. Look how they set themselves up. Because at the end of the day, nobody's winning because we both all at odds. I feel like we need to come to a majority conclusion on what we want to do. Do we want to just stay in America? I think that's what separated W. Du Bois and Garvey. Garvey said, go back to Africa. Let's go back to what we was doing before we went to slavery.
Right.
And W. Du Bois said, well, I was born here in America, so I want to stay here. I don't want to leave now. So you have those who don't want to leave America. That's the thought process back in the day where it was far as should we stay in the country or leave? Since now we have the option to leave, should we stay? But yeah, those saying, well, since I didn't physically come from Africa, only mentally and by heritage and all that, so I want to stay now. You have those saying, what? After how they treated you, still want to stay here?
Right.
So it's like, we had kind of had a disagreement. Like, I don't know if we ever going to compromise.
We never.
I mean, if Trump wins office, we gonna exercise that right to leave.
I think that's when everybody's going to decide to
Go
come back to Africa.
Like Canada, what's up?
I can see both sides of it. I can see where some people are like, well, let's just break off and do our own thing because we don't get that recognition coming from the other side. But then I can see those who are just like, no, let's just keep trying and working this and get ourselves out there, because the more they see that we're fighting, the more they're going to be like, oh, okay, they're like a force to be reckoned with in a way. Let's just keep going and doing that. And it's like when you have both of those sides, it's like it can be challenging to figure out like what's like not per se like the better choice, but like what's like the one that you should really go for. Like it's
What's right?
right. Like it's just it's difficult because you can see both sides, and it's like you can see them. Like I was just thinking about this today. I'm like, what is there a way that, well, like they can both come together, they could both fit together, but it's like at the same time, how does it work?
I feel like we can always compete and collaborate. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
that's
saying?
all
Like, what's
right.
wrong with competing, you know? But then we collaborate when we have to with you know, like white America, because like it's not a bad thing. We're not.
I mean,
Right.
we're at a white school, so like to a degree, like is this collaborating to you or
We're
what do you think?
competing right now. It's a black radio show. I mean,
That's true.
Oh,
we're
that's a good
competing.
point.
But at the same time, we collaborate. You know what I'm saying? Like you was over there. It's predominantly a white all radio show.
Yeah.
But if we know somebody we want to interview and they have to be white, be my guest. Hold on, we had one of the SGA's
Oh yeah.
yeah. So like we
yeah.
collaborated. So it's like
Season's back.
nothing wrong. Nobody's looking at live colors like y'all racist. Y'all no. We
Nah.
just you know we want to build
We
something
made something for us.
Build something for our people so we can pass it down. So
Help
we
each
just
other out.
Right.
we just as big as the other white radio shows. You know.
Right.
That's
Right.
all it is. It's just friendly competition. That's competition. You know.
I can agree.
Well stated.
Alright. So aside from all this diversity stuff that's been going on, there has been a House bill that's on its way into passing. It's about police officers not having to have the recorded video footage.
Right.
They don't have to turn it in, or they don't have to record it. Period.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is something that we especially need at this time now, especially now that it's invented, because of all the stuff that's been going on with, you know, the police officers and these teenagers and stuff like that. Why do you think that they want to do that?
I feel like it really don't matter. I think one of the benefits for social media is that they may not want to show it, but we're still going to see it because there's always going to be a witness
Right.
with their camera. So if they don't want to show it, okay, we still have the proof. I don't care that the person who put it on Twitter wasn't a certified person that should have put it. Still, it's their video evidence ain't no different than their video
Yeah.
evidence.
It's still
Right.
the same.
Right.
It happens.
So we're gonna draw the same conclusion from either one. So I mean, if they want to do this, go ahead, but you can't stop us from seeing it. It's not like y'all gonna start killing us where nobody's around or something.
And I also feel like they could even use it as a defense, because if so, say that it's the other person is wrong, like, or they're trying to make a lie, and people have it on recording. But if a police officer has it, you know, on there, they, you know what I'm saying, like you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
like. But then again, I mean, I don't know. It's up to them.
When it comes to police, I want to see the footage because you have a public job to the degree of you're so public and you're constantly in the public eye that
Yep.
that's just part of your
Yeah.
job title. That is in your
Mhm.
description of your
When
work.
you're on duty,
You are doing
public.
it in front of me. Like if you can
Right.
pull me, if you can pull me over in front of 800 speeding cars going
Yeah.
by, I should be able to see what you're doing when you stop somebody on the street.
Yeah, like as far as journal class, they teach you there's a protocol, a certain way of going to the cops, but you're obligated to it. At the end of the day, the police, they have to have press conferences. So just like an athlete, how athletes complain, the media's always in it, but you're still obligated. They teach y'all about the media. So if they're giving y'all classes on how to cooperate with the media, obviously it's part of your job then.
Right.
So you can't ignore it because now it's part of your job. Because like just athletes, if you don't go to press conference, you get fined. I'm sure as a cop, you can't not attend the press conference that's held for y'all.
You're gonna get in
I'm sure
trouble.
you're gonna get in trouble for it.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's part of
Now
your
your
job.
lawyer gonna say, you might want to sit this one out. You talking too much.
Like I feel like this is just in response to the recent shootings in Chicago.
and stuff.
Like this being Indiana, they probably don't want people to like see what's happening. They don't want people to
But at the
get
end
that
of the day,
idea.
It's the truth. So why?
Right. They probably
They just want
Just like they
I don't know.
covered
I
up.
feel like
They filed the report whenever they have a rob somebody. I mean, not rob somebody. They lock somebody up, or they're called in or something. They have to fix something. After when they go back to they have to write a report of what happened. So what they're saying, writing a written document and having the video as well. What's the difference? I mean, ain't our teacher told us that we have access to the what's called
the
affidavit or something.
What is it? What's it used for?
An affidavit, like the report they write up.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
pronounce it right.
An affidavit.
but I know what you're talking
Affidavit.
about.
I think that's the right way to say it.
Affidavit. Yeah,
I'm not in the
we,
class.
We have access. We have access to that because he basically told us that if you feel like the cops they want to tell y'all what happened, you can always go to the police department. They can give you that. They have to give you our affidavit.
Right.
True.
Yeah, so a little tip, you know.
Next time we're gonna go down.
I'm in the wrong class.
Yeah, you get an affidavit.
Right.
That's all. You just look for the affidavit.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I don't agree
I
with
just-
that. I think transparency is key. And if I understand to a degree, if you have law enforcement that got to do some stuff off the books without killing people, that probably does happen the same way you have special military operations where we don't know about it, but it kept us safe.
true.
You know, so to a degree, yeah, I get it. But in introducing bills makes it look like you have something to literally hide.
True.
Exactly, and I just
Trying
feel
to find
like
a reason to take that out instead of using it. You know.
right. Like I just
like a
feel like
cover-up.
it's our right as citizens to see these things when it happens. Like if you're supposed to have those cameras on or you're supposed to record that, I feel like we should see it because at the end of the day, that's our right to see it. So
ain't
it's
that
like
what we fought? Ain't that why we fought for body cameras so that we can see what's happening?
Exactly.
So now they trying to flip
Exactly.
it.
Now
So
they
they
tryna-
think they smart, but we're smarter though.
like regardless, it's still going to be there. But at the same time, you need to have it, not
Then again,
hide
it's
it.
not passed, so we can't necessarily be too mad.
I don't think it will be passed. Maybe because it's Indiana, like this Chicago or something. Or,
If it was a more high,
any of the states that
yeah.
that's been affected from police brutality, I think it would have been bigger than it was. I feel like nobody really been talking about this, and this actually is a big bill that need to be addressed though.
Right.
All right. Well, in the meantime, until we find out about it, I did want to talk about the Flint crisis up north. The water is not good at all. There's been a lot of things that's been going on with CNN. When did this happen, guys?
It's been going on for a while though.
Yeah,
What, a
but
couple
it's
weeks,
been under
right? 2-3 weeks?
under the radar almost.
Actually,
Not like 2014.
yeah, from the readings that I've had to do, because I'm gonna be talking more about this, writing more about it in class. It's been going on since 2014 for the most part.
In April.
And it all started when it's basically like a money type of issue where the city of Flint, they were getting their water from Detroit.
Right.
And what happened, they all, the lawmakers decided, okay, as a cheaper option, let's switch the water that you'll be using from the Detroit water to the Flint, Michigan, the Flint River water.
Right.
And from what I was reading too, they didn't check the pipes to see if they were ready, right? If it wasn't ready, or if the water was filtered enough for people to drink it. So that's where the issue has been going on. And from that moment on, there has been issues, of course, with people complaining about the color, about the taste.
Right.
It's also given a lot of health issues to people who live there too. They were saying that the children's lead poisoning, they're being
Right.
poisoned pretty much, their levels are getting higher,
It's terrible.
and lawmakers were pretty much ignoring that fact. So
Yeah, children are always more likely to be exposed to lead poisoning. Then here it says in the 90th percentile, levels of lead exposure, basically in parts per billion, compared to Detroit's only 2.3. Flint, Michigan is 27.
Where's all the lead coming from? The pipes or the water supply? Or do we not 100%?
I think it's from the pipes, from some of the
this
ones.
says on CNN, it says when the city switched the pipes back, switched it back to Lake Huron, the water supply. It says the damage was already done to the lead pipes.
Right, so they were using bad pipes, but when I look at that thing, it said Detroit even had lead already in their water, so I was wondering if the water up in that area might be
Just
lead,
bad.
and those
Right.
pipes also have a lot more lead.
Right.
Right.
Or
It
if
just all
like
needs
the
to be filtered
water.
out itself, yeah.
Probably just
So that's terrible, though,
Way
like-
more higher concentration.
As an American people, I don't understand how like we could let that kind of thing pass. Like, I mean, I'm not knowledgeable on it, but then again, I'm young and still in school. There are people that have
Right.
jobs, and your job should be to make
Get on
sure
that, yeah.
that they have clean drinking water
Yep.
in America.
Yep.
Like, and we have people building wells in, other countries. And it seems like we need some wells down the street. Like,
Yeah, I think that's crazy because like normally our country don't have this type of, like, as far as all our problems that we do have, lead poisoning and the water supply, that's probably like the last thing we normally hear about in America. We normally hear that stuff in the third world countries.
Yeah.
This stuff is happening in Detroit,
I know.
not Detroit, but
Right
Michigan,
here.
a big state.
And the fact that it's been under the wraps for so long, like it's just not coming out up until this point, that's an issue in itself, because it's like, why were they hiding this issue from
Yep.
the people? It wasn't until a pediatrician actually like gave her notes out to like the public where people actually started noticing what was happening. And it's like,
Right.
why did you all decide to let this go so far?
Just go far for so long.
I remember hearing about lead poisoning like from pencil, like as a
Right.
kid.
Yeah.
And then people
Or
they
paint.
afraid like tell them they don't have that no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy how this kind of coming back. Then even more crazy, like it's so devastating. They had to send a National Guard in just to help. So it's like this is now a national
Yeah.
crisis. It's
Right.
not just Michigan's problem now.
Yeah, it's so many things that can happen to you from lead poisoning, like a lot. Like,
I mean, the word poisoning.
yeah, like
But lead
that's
poisoning
dangerous
always been
itself.
known like one of the few poisons that can come from. I mean, kids can come in contact with as far as any type
Right.
of poisoning because it's so
Mhm.
easy
Yeah.
to get to it.
Yep, easy accessible.
It's true.
Sad.
All right, guys. Well, we are out of time for the show. I hope you guys enjoyed our topics today. And remember, don't live life in black and white. Live live in color.
WDRD. We are live in color.